Hi, I'm Ken. This is Losing in 2025, and today I'm bringing you a very simple overnight oats tutorial. I've talked a lot about overnight oats on this channel, and it has been one of the staple foods of the diet that has helped me to lose 99 pounds in 2025. I started at the beginning of this year weighing in at 335 pounds, and I am only 1 pound away from hitting my 100-pound goal for this year. So that's pretty exciting for me. And one of the things that has really helped me get there is overnight oats. Overnight oats are convenient, they're affordable, they're nutritious, they're filling, they're satisfying. There's so many great things that I can say about overnight oats, and they have been one of the constant staples of my diet. I've had them every week at times, I've had them every day, at times I've even had them more than once a day. The basic overnight oats recipe that I have finally settled on that seems to work the best for me is the one that I'm going to share with you today. I'm going to be making 6 servings in these 2-cup servings each, and they start with just a basic rolled oat. Nothing fancy here. In fact, I generally just go with the store brand. This is the H-E-B store brand, very affordable. In fact, each of these overnight oat servings is only going to cost about $1.50 each to make. Maybe a little more depending on where you buy your groceries, but that's about what I spend. I start by adding 1/2 cup of rolled oats to each of my containers. A 1/2 cup of rolled oats is 150 calories. There you go. And some people might complain and say, oh, well, wait a minute, aren't those high in carbohydrates? But you know what the reality is? Oats are a great food if you're trying to lower your blood sugar. There have been a number of studies that have been done that have demonstrated that they can actually be very helpful in lowering blood sugar. And in fact, in my own personal experience, now please remember, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not even a health coach. I'm just a guy trying to lose weight on the healthiest diet I can find. And by eating this way over the course of the last year, I've managed to reduce my A1C from 6.7 in January to just 5.2 in July. And overnight oats have been a huge part of that. So again, we start with 1/2 cup of rolled oats. I then like to go to the other dry ingredients, and I'm going to use these cold milled chia seeds. And I like to use chia seeds because not only do they add some good omega-3 fatty acids, but they also absorb some of the liquid and thicken the oats, giving the oatmeal a really great texture. And so I'm going to do 1 tablespoon of ground chia seed. Now you don't have to use ground, you can use regular chia seed if you want, but I'm using these ground ones, and I'm actually using a little more than a tablespoon because that was a rounded tablespoon. Realistically, I just want 1 tablespoon in each of those. So I've added 1 tablespoon of chia seed to each of these containers. 1 tablespoon of chia seed is about 80 calories. The next thing that I'm going to add is a tablespoon in each container of this PB2 powder. Now I'll alternate. Sometimes I'll use PB2, sometimes I'll use PB Fit. Nutritionally, they're about the same. For a 2 tablespoon serving, this would be 60 calories. I'm only actually going to use 1 tablespoon, so it's 30 calories in each one. So I'll go ahead and add 1 tablespoon of peanut butter powder to each of these containers. Now, the reason that I add this is, for one, it adds a little bit of extra protein, but it also thickens it a bit more and adds some great peanutty flavor, which to me really helps with the complexity of the flavor, and it makes it taste really good, so I like it. All right, so that has brought our total ingredient counts up to 3. We've got 1/2 cup of oats and a tablespoon each of peanut butter powder and chia seed. At this point, before I add the liquid, I'm going to mix the dry ingredients just to make sure that the chia seeds don't clump on me. That's one thing I really don't like, is if the chia seeds aren't mixed together well, they can form little lumps or clumps, and you don't want that. So I'm going to go ahead and mix those up. Now, interestingly enough, as I said, once you've purchased all your ingredients and measured them out, this costs about $1.50 per serving. If you were to buy overnight oats pre-made at the store, you're going to spend between $3 and $4 generally for those. And there's just no reason for it. You know, these are super easy to make. They don't take long. The only reason these are taking as long as they are to make is because I'm talking while I'm doing it. I'm talking to you and I'm explaining each step. But in reality, they don't take long at all. And then once these are made, they'll go into the refrigerator. They'll stay there overnight. And then these will be either breakfast or lunch or an afternoon snack for my wife and I for the next 3 days. I generally don't make more than 3 or 4 days worth at one time. You could, I suppose, but I don't like to keep them in the fridge for more than 4 days. I think 3 is kind of the sweet spot. Next up is our milk. Now you can use any kind of liquid you want. You could use water if you wanted to. You could use regular cow's milk if that's your preference. If you're not dairy free, you can go ahead and use regular milk if you prefer that. I like to use plant milk because I'm eating a plant-based diet, and you can use whatever kind of plant milk you want. You could use coconut milk, you could use almond milk, you could use oat milk. I've used oat milk before, it comes out really good. But I like to use soy milk, and the reason that I like to use soy milk is because soy milk typically is a little higher in protein than the others. And so in addition to wanting something that's good and healthy, I want it to be satiating. I want to stay full for as long as I can with these. And I want to get some extra protein in my diet if I can. So I've got just a half gallon here of organic soy milk. It's a store brand that I'm using from HEB, but you can use whatever brand you like. And I like to shake it up before I use it. And I'm going to use 1 cup. You could use a little bit less or a little bit more depending on how thick or how runny you wanted your oats to be. I like to use 1/2 cup of oats to 1 cup of plant milk. So I'm going to go ahead and pour that in there. It's a little hard not to spill when it's this full, but I'm going to do my best. All right, and then I'm going to add that 1 cup to each of these containers. 3 down, 3 to go. Now, the nice thing about this particular recipe, when you add in the oats, the chia seed, the PB2 powder, the soy milk, all things considered, each of these is around 450 calories, and each one of them is about 20 grams of protein. So these 20 grams of protein for a breakfast cereal is pretty darn good, if you ask me. I'm going to mix this up. Get it all worked in. And actually, you know what, before I mix them, I'm gonna do something else. One other thing. I don't always do this part, but I've got some great Ceylon cinnamon here. There are different kinds of cinnamon that you can get at the store if you want the one that's gonna give you the most health benefits. My understanding is Ceylon's the way to go. So I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit of cinnamon in here. Now you could flavor this with whatever you want. I'm using cinnamon. Sometimes I like to use pumpkin pie spice. Sometimes I like to use apple pie spice. It's nice to add that little bit of cloves and nutmeg and allspice if you like those. But for today, we're just gonna do cinnamon. We're gonna keep it simple. And now that I've got that cinnamon added in, I'll go ahead and mix this up. You could probably learn everything you need to know about how to make overnight oats in a 60-second short or by looking up a recipe online. So I appreciate the fact that you're hanging out with me if you're still here. So again, we're just going to mix these up. Scrape the bottoms. Don't want any dry oats down there. Get that all blended in. These are super convenient, really healthy, and they've turned out to be one of my favorite foods. Now I am going to add one more ingredient to these. I'm going to add some frozen blueberries. Now when it comes to adding blueberries to my oats, I could add fresh blueberries, but frankly, I like adding the frozen ones. I just find that having the frozen ones on hand means that the blueberries that I have are always at the peak of ripeness. They taste great. I don't ever end up with any sour berries. They're always good. Sometimes I do a 1/2 cup, sometimes I do a full cup. I think today I've got some frozen blueberries here. I think today I feel like doing a whole cup of blueberries in each one of these. Just really throw in some extra flavor, some great texture, and load up on those antioxidants, right? So I'm gonna do 1 cup in each of these because there's room for it. You could also add some shaved almonds if you wanted to, or some walnuts. Walnuts are great to add to this. I kind of like to add those as I'm getting ready to eat them though, rather than doing it when I'm putting them in the refrigerator. All right, so we've got 6 of these that I'm just going to go ahead and put these lids on now. So I'm planning on doing a video later this week about 5 staples that helped me lose 100 pounds in 2025. Haven't lost 100 pounds yet. I've only lost 99, so I'm probably going to wait until I lose that last pound before I make that video, just because 100 pounds sounds better than 99. So, but I'm really excited to talk about some of the foods that I have eaten on a regular basis that have helped me to stay full, to be able to lose this weight without feeling excessively hungry, and have given me the nutrients that I need. But it is no secret that one of those foods is right here. Overnight oats, one of the primary staple foods that have been a part of my diet every week this year so far, sometimes every day of a given week. And these, with the fiber and the protein and the flavor and the satiating goodness that they are, have been one of the main foods that have helped me lose 99 pounds in 2025. So that's it. I always like to give these a good shake after I've finished making them. I have no real reason to do that, I suppose. It just makes me happy, shaking these oats, getting them ready to go into the fridge. But I just want to thank you for hanging out, for joining me as I've sat here and talked to the camera. I'm not planning on editing this very much. Just going to post it as is, recording as live, so they say. But I will take just a moment to ask you to go ahead and hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. I can only imagine that you did if you're still here. And if you'd like to see more content like that, which you've just seen, then please go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We'd love to have you as part of the community here. This is a very supportive and encouraging community. Doesn't mean we always agree on everything, because people do have different opinions and they do have different dietary needs. And not every diet works for every person. So the important thing is to find out what works for you. Make sure that it is healthy and that you're getting all of the nutrients that you need in order to be well and to lose the weight that you're wanting to lose. So hopefully overnight oats will find their way into your diet, whatever that diet may be made of. So I'm going to stop talking now and say thank you for hanging out with me today. You have a blessed day.